What's up, everybody? It's your boy Joshua Edwards, live from my very own sunroom. This is season 3, episode 41 of Joshua's Proximity. We are finally heading into week 5 of the NFL season. So obviously I got to do a recap. I didn't do an episode last week, so I'm just going to touch on the end of week 3 and then the end of week 4 of the NFL regular season. But before I even do that, let me go ahead and give you my updated MVP list. But I've got to read the end of week 3 and obviously the end of week 4 MVP list. So my MVP list at the end of week 3 went like this. Lamar Jackson, number 1. Jalen Hurts, number 2. Number 3, Josh Allen. And number 4, Patrick Mahomes. At the end of this week, it literally flipped upside down. Number 1 is Patrick Mahomes. What he did against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to go down in Tampa Bay, put up 41 points, to go down there without a true, quote-unquote, number 1 receiver outside of Travis Kelce doesn't get any better than that. Number 2, obviously, Josh Allen. You're down 20-3 in Baltimore, going into arguably one of the loudest, toughest stadiums to play in, especially in this time of the season, to come back down from 20-3 and win the game, score 17, to score 20 unanswered points in Baltimore is unheard of. Josh Allen, number 2. Number 3, Jalen Hurts. Now, they did look sloppy against the Jags. They ended up cleaning it up, and they're the only undefeated remaining team in the NFL. So, obviously, Jalen Hurts has to be number 3. And Lamar Jackson, right now, his resume is second to none. Yes, he hasn't closed the game against the Buffalo Bills, but it's still Lamar Jackson at the end of the day. So, since I'm talking about Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens, let's go ahead and just talk about them. This is why the Baltimore Ravens are reluctant on giving Lamar Jackson his money. He is a phenomenal talent. I pray that he stays healthy the entire football season, because he is going to get his money at the end of the season. But this is my issue with Lamar Jackson. When you're up 20-3 against the Buffalo Bills, when you're up 28-7 against the Miami Dolphins, these are two teams that you know you are going to see in the postseason. This is two teams where you have to nail the coffin shut. You are at home on both of these occasions. You're up 17 last week and you're up 21 2 weeks before. And you cannot close this game. This is an indictment on the offense. This is an indictment on Lamar Jackson. This is an indictment on the Baltimore Ravens defense as a whole. When you go up 17 plus points, it doesn't matter if it's at the end of the game. It doesn't matter if it's third quarter, first half. You are expected to close these games out, especially when you are considered universally as a top 5 quarterback, universally as a top 3 MVP frontrunner. You have to close these games shut. There are no ifs, ands, or buts about it. When you look at the Ravens game, I watched this game from start to finish. Now, I have a great friend. I'm not going to speak on it, but he was going crazy during the Baltimore Ravens when they was just beating up on the Buffalo Bills. And then obviously in the second half, there was no change. You scored 20 points in the first half and you get shut out the last 2 quarters. Last 30 minutes of the football game. It's an indictment on the Baltimore Ravens. John Harbaugh, whatever your name is, Jim Harbaugh, whatever your name is. I'm tired of hearing, we should have took the 3 points. Now, I really like the decision to go for the win in that situation because you're going against Josh Allen. Field goals are not going to beat Patrick Mahomes. Field goals are not going to beat Josh Allen. Field goals are not going to beat Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow, or even Lamar Jackson. You have to score points in order to kill these young giants, man. And I understand where he was going in the decision making. But at the end of the day, the offense, you got to give me something more than 20 points in the first half and get shut out in the second half. This is an indictment on the Baltimore Ravens as a whole. But let's just go ahead and let's change up topics. Since I'm talking about at least these teams were up 17 plus points. The Carolina Panthers are now 1-26 when they allow teams over 17 points during the Matt Rule era. It is time for David Tepper to get off of Matt Rule. It has been time last year. It's been time since they signed him. Matt Rule is not the guy for the Carolina Panthers. You saw it with the first edition of his coaching career. He goes out and he gets Teddy Toilet Water as his starting quarterback in the National Football League. Yes, Teddy Bridgewater had a great outing when he was with the New Orleans Saints. But bro, we are in Carolina. Matt Rule, Teddy Bridgewater is not the quarterback that you think he is. He's not going to be the quarterback for the Miami Dolphins when he comes in for Tua and these next 2 to 3 to 1, whatever how many weeks he plays. He's not that guy. Matt Rule, your quarterback selection has been awful. Sam Darnold, awful. I'm going to say it right now. Baker Mayfield, awful. All 3 of these guys have been horrendous for the Panthers organization. Matt Rule has been horrendous for the Panthers organization. I saw something last week that I've never seen since I've been a fan of the Carolina Panthers. The seats were empty. My homeboy texted me and said, Joshua, the Panther tickets for the Arizona Cardinal games are going dumb cheap. I said, how much? He's talking about $100 for floor seats. Matt Rule, David Tepper, you said that you would not tolerate mediocrity. This has been a clown show. Say it with me, clown show. I mean, the Carolina Panthers are abysmal. I cannot believe that we went out there and then we hired the guy from the Giants. I can't think of his name right now. But this whole organization, throw it away right now. I mean, I had low expectations for my team. You know, I was trolling just a little bit, saying that at least we would win the NFC South. But I mean, whoa, we are really the worst team in the National Football League. We're worse than the than the Houston Texans. We're worse than the Oakland Raiders, Las Vegas Raiders, excuse me. We are the worst team in the National Football League, and it's by a mile. We are worse than the Denver Broncos. We flat out stink. This guy needs to be fired expeditiously. And I'm not the one to call for guys' jobs. But I just call it like I see it. If you're not good, if you're just not up for the position, then you do not deserve that position. Matt Rule does not deserve to be a head coach in the National Football League, and that's okay. His game is catered more towards the college realms. Now, granted, he does have some great picks. Jeremy Chin is a great solid pick. J.C. Horn is a great solid pick. Derek Brown, the receivers, all of that is fine and dandy, but the coaching is terrible. Coaching plays a huge role in the success of a team and the success of the organization, and Matt Rule is not the guy that we need. I'm going to change topic just a little bit. The AFC West, when I think of when I was talking about early preseason predictions, man, the AFC West, they have 4 outstanding teams that we all believe could have at least made the playoffs. Right now, this division as a whole has been underperforming. Now, the Chargers do have a lot of injuries, but at the end of the day, they are competing with some bottom-tier teams. They're competing with the Houston Texans. They're competing and losing to the Jacksonville Jaguars. And that's no shot against the Jacksonville Jaguars, but I mean, the AFC West as a whole is terrible. The Denver Broncos, another terrible coach, Nathaniel Hackett, terrible. I apologize, Kansas City, for saying any of these other teams could give you a run for your money, because it's not close. There is no competition. Who is the best team in the AFC West? It's the Kansas City Chiefs, and it's by a mile. The NFC East. There is a lot of jadedness in the record when you look at the NFC East. The Commanders are awful. The New York Giants, they have a solid defense, but as an offense, outside of Saquon Barkley, they are terrible. The Cowboys, they really haven't played anybody, so I can't give them enough credit just yet. The only solid team I believe in the NFC East is the Philadelphia Eagles, and they're 4-0 right now, the only undefeated team in the National Football League. But, you know, the question still is Jalen Hurts the guy? And that has yet to be seen. Right now, he is a top 3 MVP candidate. Dougie Peterson, the head coach for Philadelphia Eagles, is definitely the leading candidate for Coach of the Year. But the NFC East right now there's a lot of jadedness in there. Talking about the AFC West, let's transition to the other side, the NFC West. When you look at this division as well, I don't know what it is with the two West divisions, AFC West and NFC West. A lot of underperforming. The LA Rams, we know what Matthew Stafford is. I don't care if he won the Super Bowl championship. This guy stinks. That offense stinks. Jimmy G, that offense is just run heavy, run heavy, run heavy. We don't know what he's going to be like. The Seattle Seahawks, what are they? The Arizona Cardinals stink. It's just a lot of stinkiness. And the two AFC and the two West division, AFC and NFC. All right, you guys, you know how we do. Let's go ahead and let's talk about it. Top 10 of Joshua's proximity. Last week, number 10 was the Jags, number 9 was the Bucks, 8 was the Packers, 7 was the Rams, 6 was the Vikings, 5 was the Chiefs, 4 was the Ravens, 3 was the Eagles, 2 was Miami, and number 1 was the Bills. Heading into this week, let's jump right into it. Number 10, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This team offensively sucks. Defense is the only reason why they're winning games right now. Number 10, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Number 9, the Cincinnati Bengals. When you look at the Bengals, they're starting to put it together. They have a tough matchup on this weekend against the Baltimore Ravens. I like what they did against Miami. They beat the number 2 team this past week. So I got to add the Bengals to number 9. Number 8, the Packers. When you struggle against the New England Patriots without their starting quarterback, you barely win in overtime. That is something to raise an eyebrow at. Number 8, the Packers. Number 7, Miami Dolphins. We know what Teddy Bridgewater is. He's going to handcuff the Miami Dolphins until Tua shows up. But until then, this team is still good. I just don't know what they're going to be like offensively. Number 7, Miami Dolphins. Number 6, the Baltimore Ravens. You're up 28-7 against Miami. You're up 20-3 against the Buffalo Bills. You got to find a way to close these games out. Number 6, the Baltimore Ravens. Number 5, the San Francisco 49ers. When you look at this team, they do everything physical. Physical on defense, physical on offense. We do not know what Jimmy G is going to do when it's time to make the throw. They have got to start finding a way to get George Kittle involved for fantasy purposes and just for the purpose of their offense. Number 5, San Francisco 49ers. Number 4, the Minnesota Vikings. They just beat up on the Green Bay Packers week 1. They're 3-1. They just went across seas, across the Atlantic Ocean, and they beat up on the New Orleans Saints. This team is still very, very good. Number 4, the Minnesota Vikings. Number 3, the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, the only reason why I didn't put them number 1 is because I believe the other 2 teams are better than they are, and they have more weapons at the receiver position. But this team, to go down to Tampa Bay, put up 41 points. The game really wasn't as close as the Tampa Bay Buccaneers made it seem, even of late. Number 3, Kansas City Chiefs. Number 2, the Philadelphia Eagles. Didn't like what I saw against the Jags, but they still have a couple of ways to go. We don't know exactly what Jalen Hurts is just yet. I do like what I'm seeing though so far. Number 2, Philadelphia Eagles. Number 1, it hasn't changed. Buffalo Bills. Still the best team in football. You're down 20-3. You pitch a shutout in the second half against the Baltimore Ravens. Against the MVP type of quarterback, MVP caliber quarterback. You want an MVP. Buffalo Bill is definitely number 1. Let me go ahead and give my predictions for this week on these matchups. Colts versus Broncos. Broncos, the Colts are awful. Giants versus Packers. I'm not going to be a fan in this one. Packers. Lions versus Patriots. Patriots in this matchup. I think that the Lions suck defensively, and Bill Belichick knows what he's doing on the defensive side. Chargers versus Browns. Give me the Chargers. Texans versus the Jags. I like the Jags, man. They're playing really good football right now. Falcons versus the Bucks. The Buccaneers will win this matchup. Bears versus the Vikings. Minnesota, what are we talking about? Bears suck offensively. Justin Fields has no help on the outside, on the receivers position. Dolphins versus the Jets. I'm going with the upset. I'm going with the Jets in this. Teddy Bridgewater is the quarterback. Seahawks versus the Saints. Give me the Saints. 49ers versus the Panthers. Hopefully this is the week that the dude gets fired. I'm not praying on anybody's job, but the 49ers in this matchup. Eagles versus the Cardinals. Thought long and hard about this. Going with the Philadelphia Eagles. Cowboys versus the Rams. If the Cowboys win, they will eclipse my top 8 and my top 10. And Dak Prescott won't get his job back. With that being said, I'm going with the Cowboys in the upset. Bengals versus Ravens Sunday night. Give me the Bengals. Last but not least, Monday Night Football, Chiefs versus Raiders. Give me the Chiefs in this matchup. And until again, you know how we do. Josh's Proximity. We out.